Hi good people, it's Amy from Savor Salvage Scent and I hope this finds you well. For those of you who are new to the channel, this mostly focuses on all things perfume and fragrance related with an occasional other creative or DIY project. And for those of you who are returning, thank you so much for supporting me, taking part in the conversation, etc., etc. If you haven't yet, I hope you will consider both clicking the red subscribe button so that we can stay in touch, and also giving this video a thumbs up if it interests you or if you've enjoyed it at all. Both things really help my channel and help me grow and help me continue to get to know you all. Today, what am I talking about? What are we talking about? A few themes in the same. I'm going to talk about 3 scents, and I think they have a lot in common. What are those things? One, I think they're great transitional scents from warmer to colder months. 2, I think that they're very unique. Almost, I would call all 3 kind of maybe even oddball scents. And 3, I think they have some similarities in that they have a lot of personality. They all tend to have like some woody or grassy kind of notes, or maybe patchouli, but they are not so heavy that you can't wear them as it's transitioning from warm to cold. So let's talk about these 3 weirdos. And I say that with so much respect. I love a scent that doesn't smell like everything else. But strangely, as I literally just grabbed these today because I was like, oh, these will be great transition scents. And one in particular I haven't even worn enough, so I was wearing it today. I'm like, this is so good. But they do have a lot in common, and I think what makes them similar is what makes them great transition scents. So I'll explain. All right, first, if this is an oddball just by the way it looks. So this was recommended to me by my friend in Montreal. You know who you are. Diesel green. Oh, sorry, another thing that makes these all common. I don't care if all 3 of these are marketed to men or women or both. All of them, I say, are so unisex. I just can't imagine. They just feel so kind of like in the middle to me, and that I can't imagine anybody who wouldn't like them. So, all right, first, Diesel Green. This is the one that was marketed as feminine, which I think is crazy because I put it on and I was like, my first inclination was that it was something marketed to men and I just happened to like it, but no. Let me tell you a little bit about it. So this was created in 2004. I don't know this nose's name. It looks like Arturetto Landi. Not familiar. I should learn more about this person. Let me read you the notes quickly. Oh, and this can be found for about 60 bucks. I think this is 2.5, and I just think it's so interesting. I think it started out really cheap, actually, like $20 to $30. So worth 60 or 70. It's so interesting, and the fact that it can be a transitional scent, I just think it's fabulous. The notes, top are ginger and lime. The mid notes are cinnamon, clove, carnation, orange, blossom, jasmine, and iris and rose. And then the base notes are sandalwood, cedar, amber, vanilla, and musk. This I think is so interesting, and what makes it to me unique is a lot of green scents are kind of in the same lane. They're often like grassy, or they're usually, I find a lot of green scents to be freshies. I would call this dry, actually. And while it has, when you first spray it, a bit of a piney effect, it is not sappy. So I find most pine scents to be really like resinous and thick and sappy. That is not what I get from this. I mostly get lime, woods, and even though I don't think vetiver is listed as a note, I get that like dry grassiness, not green grass. It is, I would say, almost a cross between what we in the past have called an oriental scent and almost like it's it's green, but it's not a typical green, combined with like some of those vanillic ambery kind of what we used to call oriental kind of features. It's just, I don't know, it's an oddball. It's not super highly rated on Fragrantica, but I'm telling you what, I put this on and it just puts me in such a cool place. And I think it's because I don't have anything that smells just like this. It's such an interesting experience wearing it, but it's not heavy. That doesn't weigh you down at all. It feels to me really great. But it's got these kind of oddball elements that I honestly think would transition to any season. I think this would be great actually at the holidays because it's got like a fair amount of spice. Again, still dry though, not heavy, but just so interesting. And I mean, how about this weirdo bottle? You spray it, it looks like a plant sprayer, but then it's got this feature that's kind of like a grenade where you have to pull out the little pin to spray it. But really, really wonderful. So this is Diesel Green, the feminine version, but I say, alas, anybody could wear this and love it. It's beautiful. All right, next. And it's funny because as I read you the notes from these three, they differ quite a bit, but I get similar vibes from these. Like, I'm wearing all three of them. Today, I think I have Diesel Green on my one wrist. I have the next on my elbow and the other one on my other wrist. And it's smelling fabulous in my office, I will just say. Okay, next. Another scent that I believe is like discontinued, but still, or no, this one isn't discontinued. It's around, it's not as easy as it was to find originally, but you can still find it. This is Fresh, the company, Cannabis Santel. This was one of those I smelled in Sephora and it was like love at first scent. I didn't buy it for years, but I would, every time I'd go to Sephora, I'd be like, oh, I want that. And I smelled this before there was like, now there's a fair amount of scents with cannabis weed in it. But back then this was kind of revolutionary. So this was made in 2006 originally. The nose is Caroline Sabas. The top notes are plum, bergamot, orange. The mid notes are patchouli and cannabis and rose. And the base notes are dark chocolate, vetiver, vanilla, and musk. So again, when this first came out, it was, I thought, very, very interesting to have cannabis in a scent. I since have experienced a fair amount of cannabis scents. I'll just be honest. Cannabis is not a stranger to me, but I haven't smoked or partook, God, for decades. Used to be highly into it. But just like the actual experience, there are many different kinds of cannabis, like in scents. There's sometimes it comes through as very, very dry. Sometimes it comes through as very herbal. Sometimes it comes through as like crazy skunky, like sappy, almost nasty, like body odor. All of those things can happen in perfume. This one though, I think is really interesting because again, it is super dry, but the chocolate comes out. I'm not a huge chocolate lover. I would take, for instance, in a dessert, I would take creme brulee over chocolate any day. But I like this interpretation. It's like a dry chocolate. You definitely get patchouli. You definitely get like vetiver to me. And as far as the cannabis, you get a hint of it. It's not skunky. It's dry, I would say almost powdery or earthy even, almost like a little like soil. And that mixed with the chocolate and the vetiver is just so, 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 so good. And again, this is one I find it really changes depending on when I wear it. Sometimes, like for instance in heat, I get a lot more of the grassiness. As it gets colder, I get a more of like the cocoa chocolate feel. Really, really great. And I just think really interesting, but a little oddball. This can be found for about, I think, $50, $60. So Fresh Cannabis Santal, really, really beautiful. And again, I find it to be perfectly unisex. Last but not least, this is probably the most popular one that I'm going to talk about in the three. This is Lalique's Perles de Lalique. And this is another suggestion by my friend in Montreal who knows a load about perfume and is just such a wonderful person. This is so awesome. I think she actually sent me a decant of it some time ago and I like ran through it in a few days. I couldn't believe how good it was. I'll be honest, rose sometimes challenges me. Weirdly, when I think about it, some of my favorite scents have rose, like Calligraphy Rose by Aramis is incredible. This is a different kind of interpretation than I'm used to for rose, and this is why I call it a little bit of an oddball scent. It is, so let me tell you a little bit more about when it was made, who made it. 2006 by Natalie Larson, the incredible, incredible nose. Top notes are rose, is rose. Mid notes are pepper, iris, and powder, and the base notes are patchouli, oak moss, vetiver, and orris root, and cashmere wood. I find, I mean, rose can be interpreted a million ways, but I like this kind of like perfectly balanced composition to me of rose, spice, and these dry kind of like soft powdery elements. There's something about those, the orris and the powdery notes, that take the edge off. Sometimes rose can be a little screechy, I find, in perfumes, and this just is soft, dry. It's wild because I feel like this scent is like a mixture of things. It's both, it's chic but laid back. I think this got like, it got incredible awards when it first came out because it's just, it's one of those, I feel like, it's really unique and interesting, but somehow still really easy to wear. It's easy to love. It's beautiful. But I feel like it's not your common rose scent. I feel like it's very artsy and a little strange, honestly, in the best of ways. And it's powdery, but it's not your grandmother's powder, and I love grandmother's powder. I'm not judging. But like, this is just really cool, modern, amazing. All of these, I feel like, just are, oh, by the way, totally marketed to women, and guess what? This would be sexy as hell on a man. Anybody, wear it if you love it. It's just wonderful. I don't find this to be like one of those voluptuous female rose scents, female marketed rose scents. I feel like anybody could wear this. It's beautiful. The earthiness comes out too. So anyway, Perles de Lalique, amazing. And Lalique, as you can see, just, of course, they make beautiful bottles. It's Lalique. So all three of these I think are really artsy, interesting, almost bordering on strange in the best of ways, wonderful in the heat, great as it gets cold too, pretty affordable. Perles de Lalique's dirt cheap. It's like $25 a bottle, and if you don't own it, you should get it. The other two are, I think, $50 to $75 range, and well worth it for something so unique. I think they smell very niche. So I would love to hear about, do any of you own any of these? What are your transition scents? And what are you looking forward to hearing about as we get closer to fall? All right, have a great day. Cheers. Bye-bye.